Okay, let's talk about stopping the endless running. Welcome to the explainer. If you're completely exhausted from sweating like a rotisserie chicken on the treadmill, only to look in the mirror and see the exact same stubborn belly fat staring back at you, well, the research we're diving into today is absolutely going to blow your mind. The source material reveals exactly why all that intense, brutal cardio might literally be working against you. And more importantly, we'll see how ditching that cardio torture for strategic walking is pretty much the ultimate biological hack to finally burn off that midsection fat.
Think about the sheer math of trying to outrun a bad diet for a second. 60 minutes. That's a full hour. That is exactly how long it takes of miserable, gasping for air running on pavement just to burn off a single 500-calorie frappuccino. Crazy, right? Just to cancel out one sugary coffee drink? If your whole fat loss strategy relies purely on running more just to cancel out what you're eating, man, you're already losing the battle. The inefficiency is just staggering when you put it like that.
And this leads to a frustration that, let's be honest, almost all of us have experienced at some point. You start this grueling new cardio routine, you force yourself to eat less. And what actually happens? Well, your face gets remarkably leaner, your arms shrink down, but your belly? It stays exactly the same, completely unchanged. It feels so incredibly unfair, doesn't it? You're putting in all this suffering, doing all the hard work, and losing weight literally everywhere except the one specific place you actually want it to disappear. So, to understand why this happens, we actually have to look under the hood at our body's biology. The sources explain that every single fat cell in your body has this tiny microscopic switch. When it's flipped to the on position, you actively burn fat. When it's off, you store it. Simple enough, right? But here's the catch. The fat on your face and your arms, those switches flip on incredibly easily. But your belly fat is biologically wired differently. Those switches are basically welded into the off position because historically, your body literally thinks you might starve tomorrow, so it hoards that belly fat like it's a life insurance policy. Now, the science points out something really fascinating about how the exercise we choose interacts with those little switches. When you do brutal cardio, heavy sprinting or high-intensity interval training, your body totally freaks out. It enters full-blown stress mode. Your adrenaline spikes, your cortisol goes through the roof. And while those stress hormones force the switches in your arms into the on position, they actually lock your belly fat switches down even tighter. So, no joke, you are actively making yourself work harder just to stay fatter in your midsection. Let's break down exactly why this happens by looking at our body's two main fuel tanks. Tank 1 is your fast fuel, and that's basically sugar. It's quick, it's explosive, it's perfect if you need to sprint away from a bear, but it runs out extremely fast. Then you have Tank 2, your slow fuel, which is your stored body fat. This is a stable, practically endless energy source specifically designed for low-effort, steady movement. The harder and more intensely you push your body, the more it panics. It thinks it's in danger, so it relies purely on that explosive sugar fuel, completely bypassing your fat stores. And that brings us perfectly into what we call the intense cardio trap. Because hard cardio relies almost exclusively on burning sugar, you aren't actually burning your stored body fat, you're really just burning off the sandwich you ate for lunch. And worse, intense cardio drastically spikes your hunger hormones. So you finish your run, you're absolutely starving, you grab a 600-calorie reward snack because, hey, you earned it, right? And suddenly, you've just eaten back way more calories than you suffered to burn in the first place. It is a vicious, endless cycle. So, how do we actually fix this? Well, the data points to a surprisingly simple solution, which is our first hack: the conversational fat-burning zone. When you walk at a brisk pace where you're slightly out of breath, but you can still comfortably hold a conversation, absolute magic happens. Because you aren't pushing into that high-stress mode, your cortisol stays completely calm. And since the effort is low, your body doesn't need that explosive sugar fuel. Instead, it taps directly into that slow fuel tank, your stored belly fat. You are officially out of survival mode and locked straight into fat-burning mode.
Okay, so what's the actual target here? 7,000 to 10,000 steps per day. That really is the sweet spot for maintaining this zone. And the research highlights an incredible bonus hack to upgrade this if you're up for it. Throw on a weighted vest or just a heavy backpack with maybe 10 to 20 pounds in it. By adding that extra weight, every single step literally costs your body more energy. It significantly boosts your results while keeping you safely anchored in that calm, cortisol-free fat-burning zone.
Now, let's tackle a major biological roadblock with the next piece of the puzzle: crushing the insulin spike. You see, every single time you eat a meal, your insulin spikes. The body senses incoming energy and immediately switches into storage mode. Now, that's completely normal, but here's the massive problem.
While your body is actively storing energy, the fat-burning process is 100% turned off. It literally doesn't matter how hard you trained that morning. If your body is actively storing, fat loss is totally halted.
But the fix for this roadblock is incredibly straightforward. Literally, just take a 10-minute walk after breakfast, a 10-minute walk after lunch, and a 10-minute walk after dinner. That's just 30 minutes a day, which is roughly 3,000 steps. By getting up and moving right after you eat, you intercept that insulin spike before it fully takes over. So instead of storing the meal as new fat, your body is instantly forced to use that food as immediate fuel. It's brilliant.
And here's a really fantastic bonus trick from the source material for anyone out there hitting the gym. If you lift weights, make it a solid habit to walk immediately after your workout. Just think about the mechanics for a second. Your heavy lifting session just completely burned through all of your body's easy sugar fuel. So when you transition straight into a walk right after that, your body has practically zero sugar left to pull from, meaning it taps into your stored belly fat incredibly fast.
All right, we have to pause here for a quick, necessary reality check. You cannot outwalk the fork. This is the brutal truth of everything we're looking at in this explainer today. Walking after meals is a biological powerhouse for sure, but if you're eating way more calories than your body actually requires, even 30,000 steps a day isn't going to save you. For this fat loss to actually work, your walking absolutely must be paired with a slight calorie deficit. The big issue here is that manual calorie tracking is a total trap. Trying to calculate macros and weighing every single grain of rice, it feels like terrible math homework and causes rapid burnout. Plus, hidden calories are literally everywhere. Imagine a perfectly healthy-looking grilled chicken and sweet potato meal. Looks like, what, 500 calories, right? But if that chicken was pan-fried in half a stick of butter just for flavor, those hidden calories will totally ruin your progress without you even knowing it. The source material highlights using smart tools like Cal AI to solve this exact problem. With quick photo scanning and barcode tracking, you can log exact macros with just a couple of taps, keeping your nutrition perfectly honest without losing your mind to the math homework.
Now, there is one final strategy that turns regular walking into absolute nuclear fat loss. Just look at this massive number, a 50% boost. By taking your walk and adding just a tiny 5% incline, you instantly increase your overall calorie burn by over half. You get the glutes firing, the hamstrings working, and your heart rate up, all while staying entirely clear of that stressful, fat-storing cortisol spike we talked about earlier.
The sources lay out an exact, foolproof blueprint for the treadmill to maximize this effect. Set a 12% incline, walk at a 3-mile-per-hour speed, and do it for exactly 30 minutes. Now, if 12% is just too tough at first, no worries, drop it to 8%. Doing this 2 to 3 times a week is absolutely ideal. But, and listen closely, the material highlights a cardinal rule you absolutely cannot break. Do not hold the handrails. The literal second you grab those rails and lean back, you completely kill the mechanics and turn a 12% incline into a basically useless 2% incline. Seriously, let your arms swing naturally. Now, before you run off and map out your whole new walking life, we need one more quick reality check on our baseline. There's a massive gap between perceived steps and actual steps. Most people genuinely think they walk about 8,000 steps, just, moving around the office or their house. The reality? They're probably only walking about 3,000. You have to track your steps on your phone or a watch because once you see the real, factual number staring back at you, you can't ignore it. But to help you close that gap effortlessly, the material outlines a few lazy step boosters. You don't need a massive life overhaul to hit your goals. Just commit to always parking far away from the store entrance. Boom, that's 300 to 400 free steps instantly. When you take a phone call, don't sit down. Pace the room like you're plotting world domination. That earns you 1,000 steps every 10 minutes. And take the stairs whenever possible, which gives you 3 times the calorie burn of flat walking. You stack these tiny habits up, and your daily target practically takes care of itself. To pull this all together without getting completely overwhelmed, the sources outline a simple 12-week fat loss blueprint. For the first 4 weeks, don't even obsess over hitting 10,000 steps right out of the gate. Just find your baseline, add 2,000 steps to it, and really focus on those 3 post-meal walks. Then in weeks 5 through 8, push for an 8,000 step minimum using those lazy hacks. Finally, in weeks 9 through 12, lock in the full 10,000 daily steps and add your 2 incline treadmill sessions. It's all about building sustainable habits, not rushing it. So here is the final question I want to leave you with. Are you ready to trade running for suffering for walking for results?
The science clearly shows that while runners are out there unnecessarily spiking their cortisol, locking up their belly fat, and then desperately trying to out-eat their raging hunger, walkers are quietly, calmly burning fat 7 days a week. They are simply working with their biology instead of constantly fighting against it. Thanks for joining me for this explainer. Now get out there and get walking.